Hello, everyone. I want you to take a moment and think about something. How many times today, or even just in the last hour, have you caught yourself thinking about something that doesn't really matter? Something that doesn't serve you, something that distracts you from the present moment. Maybe it was a worry about something that hasn't happened yet. Maybe it was a judgment you passed on yourself. Or maybe you were just caught up in a whirlwind of thoughts that seem to have no end. It's easy to let our minds get cluttered. After all, we live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information. Our phones are buzzing, emails are piling up, news stories demand our attention. And then there are all those little voices in our heads telling us that we're not good enough or we're not doing enough. But here's the truth: your mind is a precious space, and you have the power to clear out the clutter. You can create room for what matters, for peace, for clarity, and for joy. Let's start with awareness. The first step to getting rid of unnecessary thoughts is simply noticing that they're there. It's like cleaning a room. You can't organize what you can't see. When we allow ourselves to step back and observe our thoughts without judgment, we begin to see just how much mental clutter we carry around. We often worry about things that don't serve us, replay situations that are over, or anticipate future problems that may never happen. Mindfulness is a powerful tool. In the midst of the chaos, there's a quiet space inside of you right here, right now. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to clear away the mental noise and focus on the present moment. It could be as simple as taking a deep breath, feeling your feet on the ground, and being fully present with what is happening around you. Even just a few moments of mindfulness can create a shift in your mindset. But it's not just about quieting the mind in the moment, it's about shifting your perspective on your thoughts. Start replacing negative, unnecessary thoughts with positive, empowering ones. When you catch yourself thinking something self-critical, pause and ask yourself, what if I could think of this differently? What if I could show myself more compassion? By choosing to shift your mindset, you start to reclaim your power. And here's another big one: limit the external noise. We don't have to engage with every piece of information that comes our way. The news, social media, the opinions of others, they all have their place, but they don't need to dictate our mental space. When we limit our exposure to things that don't contribute to our well-being, we make room for peace, we make room for clarity. Finally, remember that mental peace is a practice. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something we can achieve by simply wishing for it. Every day, we make choices about what to hold on to and what to let go. The more we commit to letting go of unnecessary thoughts, the thoughts that weigh us down, the thoughts that keep us in the past or worry about the future, the more we make space for inner peace and for the things that truly matter. So I want you to think about this. What thoughts are you carrying that don't serve you? What can you let go of today, right now, to create a little more space in your mind? When you clear away the clutter, you make room for your truest self. You make room for possibility, for creativity, for peace. And I promise you, that space you create, it's worth it. The mind is an incredibly powerful thing. It's the lens through which we experience the world, shaping our thoughts, emotions, actions, and ultimately our reality. Everything we encounter, every challenge, every joy, every interaction is filtered through our mental framework. Our thoughts have the ability to create our reality, to propel us forward or hold us back. What we believe about ourselves and our world, what we focus on, what we dwell on, these are the things that shape the course of our lives. When we think positively with intention, we start to notice opportunities instead of obstacles. When we train our minds to focus on gratitude, we begin to see more of what we're grateful for. But when we let our thoughts spiral into negativity, worry, or self-doubt, our world starts to mirror that mindset. It becomes harder to take action, harder to see solutions, and harder to feel at peace. The power of the mind is so profound because it has the ability to influence not only our internal world, but our external one as well. Have you ever noticed how a simple change in thought, a shift in perspective, can shift the entire mood of your day? A small shift in attitude can change the way you approach a problem or the way you interact with others. And when we consistently train our minds to think more clearly, more positively, or more calmly, we begin to see long-term changes in our lives. Our minds are like gardens. What we plant, nurture, and allow to grow shapes the landscape of our thoughts and experiences. If we feed our minds with constant negativity or worry, we grow a garden of stress and anxiety. But if we choose to feed it with positivity, self-compassion, and awareness, we cultivate a garden of peace, resilience, and clarity. Understanding the power of our minds is the first step in reclaiming our sense of peace and control. Once we realize that we can choose which thoughts to hold on to and which to release, we unlock a new level of freedom. The freedom to not be controlled by our fears or doubts, but to instead take control of our mental space and direct it toward what truly matters. And when we choose to focus our minds on growth, on gratitude, and on the present moment, we create a life that reflects that choice, a life that's empowered by the mind rather than at the mercy of it. Mental clutter is something we all deal with, though we may not always recognize it for what it is. It's the collection of unnecessary thoughts, worries, distractions, and stressors that accumulate over time and fill our mental space. It's like a room in our mind that gets packed with everything from trivial concerns to unresolved emotions. Just like physical clutter, mental clutter builds up gradually, often without us noticing, until it becomes overwhelming. The more we let it pile up, the harder it becomes to see clearly, to focus, or to make space for the things that truly matter. Mental clutter often keeps us stuck. When our minds are too full, we can't think clearly or make the space for new ideas, fresh perspectives, or creative solutions. We get bogged down in the small stuff, those insignificant thoughts or worries that we don't even realize we're holding on to. It's easy to find ourselves dwelling on a minor comment someone made or stressing over a scenario that hasn't even happened yet. Over time, this kind of mental congestion becomes draining. It steals our energy and focus, and we begin to feel scattered, stressed, and mentally exhausted. Another aspect of mental clutter is the tendency to hold on to outdated beliefs or patterns of thinking that no longer serve us. These could be old fears, insecurities, or assumptions we've carried with us for years. Even when we're no longer consciously aware of them, they affect how we view ourselves and the world. These limiting beliefs can act as a kind of mental baggage, weighing us down and preventing us from seeing new possibilities or taking healthy risks. Mental clutter doesn't just come from external distractions. Sometimes it's the clutter we create internally, thoughts we refuse to let go of, old patterns of self-criticism, or outdated ways of thinking that no longer align with who we are or where we want to go. Understanding mental clutter is the first step in decluttering our minds. Recognizing the signs of mental overload, whether it's feeling overwhelmed, distracted, or fatigued, is crucial to creating change. Once we acknowledge that we're caught in the cycle of mental clutter, we can begin to take steps to clear it out, just as we would clear a physical space that's become too crowded. It's about creating room for clarity, calm, and focus so we can live more intentionally, so we can make room for the things that really matter, and so we can find peace amid the noise. The key is to take a step back and ask ourselves what thoughts are serving us. Which ones are distracting us, draining us, or keeping us stuck? When we begin to identify and let go of the mental clutter that no longer serves us, we open ourselves up to a life of greater peace and possibility. One of the most dangerous aspects of overthinking is that it often keeps us trapped in the past or the future, rather than allowing us to experience the present moment. We replay conversations, mistakes, and moments of regret from the past, so we obsessively analyze every possible outcome of a situation that hasn't even occurred yet. In doing so, we miss out on what's happening right now, what's real, what's here, and what's within our control. Overthinking doesn't help us make better decisions or solve problems. It only keeps us stuck in a cycle of indecision, anxiety, and paralysis. The energy we pour into overthinking is exhausting. It drains our mental and emotional resources, leaving us feeling fatigued, anxious, and overwhelmed. When we overthink, we lose our ability to think clearly. Our minds become clouded with doubt and confusion, and it becomes harder to trust our instincts or make decisions with confidence. We become our own worst critics, constantly second-guessing ourselves and imagining worst-case scenarios that rarely come to fruition. Instead of feeling empowered or clear-headed, we feel stuck in an endless loop of uncertainty, doubting ourselves at every turn. Overthinking also has a direct impact on our emotional well-being. It often breeds anxiety, stress, and self-doubt. When we ruminate on negative thoughts, we amplify our fears and worries, turning them into something much bigger than they need to be. This anxiety can spill over into other areas of our lives, affecting our relationships, our work, and our overall sense of peace. What started as a small worry can become a towering, uncontrollable force that shapes our day-to-day experiences. Mindfulness is often described as the practice of being fully present in the moment, aware of where we are, what we're doing, and how we're feeling without judgment. At its core, mindfulness invites us to step away from the autopilot mode that many of us live in, where our thoughts are scattered, our attention is divided, and we're constantly reacting to life instead of truly experiencing it. In a world that moves at an ever-increasing pace, where distractions are endless and our to-do lists seem never-ending, mindfulness offers us a chance to hit pause and reconnect with ourselves and the world around us. The power of mindfulness lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require any complex rituals or extraordinary efforts. It's about shifting our awareness to the present moment, whether we're washing dishes, walking down the street, or having a conversation. When we practice mindfulness, we start to notice things that we often overlook, like the warmth of the sun on our skin, the rhythm of breath, or the subtle emotions we're feeling in response to our experiences. In these moments, we become more grounded and aware, and as a result, more at peace with whatever is happening in our lives. One of the key benefits of mindfulness is that it allows us to observe our thoughts without becoming overwhelmed by them. When we're mindful, we create a mental space between ourselves and our thoughts, which gives us the ability to detach from them and not let them dictate how we feel or act. Instead of getting lost in a spiral of worries or anxieties, mindfulness helps us become the observer of our thoughts, noticing them without judgment or attachment. This ability to witness our thoughts without becoming emotionally entangled with them is a powerful tool for reducing stress and cultivating emotional resilience. Mindfulness also enables us to let go of the constant need to control or fix things. So often we get caught up in trying to make everything perfect, to fix problems before they even arise, or to predict every possible outcome. But when we practice mindfulness, we learn to embrace the uncertainty of life. We begin to accept that not everything is within our control, and that's okay. By becoming more present, we start to see that peace doesn't come from controlling every detail, but from accepting what is right here and right now. This acceptance doesn't mean complacency. It's the freedom to respond to life's challenges with clarity and calm, rather than reacting out of fear or frustration. Another profound effect of mindfulness is its ability to foster deeper connections with others. When we're truly present with someone, listening without judgment, without the urge to interrupt, or without being distracted by our own thoughts or phones, we create a space for authentic connection. In relationships, mindfulness helps us show up more fully, to be attuned to the emotions and needs of those around us. It allows us to be compassionate not only with others, but also with ourselves. By being kinder and more accepting toward ourselves in the present moment, we naturally extend that same kindness and acceptance to others. Moreover, mindfulness allows us to break free from the cycle of rumination. When we're constantly rehashing past mistakes or worrying about future outcomes, we're robbing ourselves of the present moment. By practicing mindfulness, we shift our attention away from the past and future, anchoring ourselves in the now. This shift allows us to experience life as it truly is, without the cloud of judgment or the weight of unresolved emotions. We start to see things more clearly, to appreciate what's right in front of us, and to act with more intention. The beauty of mindfulness is that it's available to all of us anytime, anywhere. Whether through a formal meditation practice or by simply being more conscious in our daily activities, mindfulness offers us a tool to create more space in our lives. It doesn't require special circumstances or equipment. It just asks for our attention. And when we give it, we find that we don't just create more peace and clarity in our own minds, but we also begin to experience life with a deeper sense of richness and joy. When we experience mental clutter, stress, or negative thought patterns, it's easy to focus on the symptoms, feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or exhausted. However, these feelings are often the result of deeper underlying causes that we may not always recognize. The root cause of our mental chaos, emotional turmoil, or habitual overthinking often lies beneath the surface, hidden in our beliefs, unresolved emotions, past experiences, or even in the unconscious patterns we've developed over time. To truly understand the root cause, we must first acknowledge that many of our current struggles are often tied to unresolved issues from the past. Whether it's a difficult childhood experience, a painful relationship, or an unmet need for love, validation, or security, these experiences can create emotional wounds that continue to influence our thoughts and actions, often without our conscious awareness. The mind doesn't simply forget difficult or traumatic events, it holds on to them, sometimes for years, shaping how we perceive ourselves, our relationships, and the world. These old emotional wounds often create a breeding ground for negative thoughts, self-doubt, and even anxiety because we're still processing the hurt or fear we experienced in the past. Our root causes also often reside in the limiting beliefs we've internalized over time. These beliefs can be about ourselves, our worth, or the world around us. For example, if we grew up in an environment where we were told we weren't good enough, smart enough, or deserving of success, those messages can become deeply embedded in our subconscious. Even if we no longer hear those words, they can echo in the back of our minds, shaping our decisions and actions. These limiting beliefs can cause us to second-guess ourselves, hold back from pursuing our goals, or self-sabotage when we start to experience success. The root cause of this kind of behavior isn't the external circumstances, but the deeply ingrained belief that we're not worthy or capable. Another root cause of mental clutter and overthinking lies in the way we process and manage emotions. Many of us are conditioned to suppress or avoid difficult emotions like anger, sadness, or fear. Society often tells us to stay positive or keep it together. But in doing so, we can end up bottling up our feelings. When we push our emotions aside without addressing them, they don't simply disappear, they build up and can manifest as stress, anxiety, or even physical ailments. Our thoughts become consumed with trying to control or deny these emotions, and the result is a constant state of internal conflict. This emotional avoidance leads to a disconnect between what we're really feeling and what we're expressing, which fuels mental clutter and keeps us trapped in cycles of overthinking. Another often overlooked root cause is the desire for control. Life is inherently uncertain, and yet many of us have a deep-seated need to control every aspect of our lives, from our relationships to our work to our future. We fear the unknown and the idea of not being in charge, so we try to plan for every possible scenario, anticipate every potential problem, and ensure that things go according to plan. While planning and being proactive can be useful, excessive control leads to anxiety and overthinking. We start to believe that if we don't micromanage every detail, something bad will happen. This need for control creates an environment in which our thoughts are constantly churning, analyzing, and predicting, never allowing us to relax or be present. The pressure to achieve and perform can also be a root cause of mental strain. In a society that values productivity, success, and constant achievement, we often feel like we need to prove our worth through what we do, how much we accomplish, or how well we measure up to others. This can lead to perfectionism, burnout, and a constant state of comparison. We become so focused on outcomes that we forget to appreciate the process, and the fear of failure or not being enough drives us to overthink every decision, choice, and action. This root cause ties into feelings of inadequacy, fear of judgment, and the relentless pursuit of validation, making it difficult to simply be without constantly measuring ourselves against others. Sometimes the root cause of mental clutter is simply a lack of boundaries, both internal and external. Many of us are conditioned to say yes when we really want to say no, whether it's out of a desire to please others, avoid conflict, or fear of letting someone down. This lack of boundaries causes us to overextend ourselves, filling our minds with obligations, responsibilities, and commitments that drain our energy. We spread ourselves too thin, saying yes to things that don't align with our values or needs, and then wonder why we feel mentally overwhelmed and emotionally depleted. Learning to set healthy boundaries, whether with work, relationships, or our own expectations, is crucial for clearing mental clutter and regaining a sense of inner peace. The root cause of our mental chaos is also often tied to a deeper existential longing, the search for meaning and purpose. In the face of uncertainty and the challenges of modern life, many of us struggle with questions about our identity, our role in the world, and our sense of purpose. We might feel lost or unsure about the direction we should take, which can cause our minds to race with what-if scenarios and endless contemplation about what's next. This search for meaning can lead us to overthink, trying to find the right answer or path, when the truth is that purpose often unfolds over time and through experience. When we allow ourselves to sit with uncertainty and embrace the unknown, we begin to find clarity and direction. Another aspect of external noise is the pressure to perform and achieve. In a culture that often equates success with constant productivity, we can find ourselves overwhelmed by the need to do more, be more, and accomplish more. Whether it's at work, in our personal lives, or in the world of social media, there's an underlying expectation to always be striving, always be improving. This pressure can lead to burnout, anxiety, and a sense of never being enough. The more we feed into this constant drive for achievement, the less time and energy we have for self-reflection, for rest, or for simply being present in our own lives. In addition, the physical environment we inhabit often contributes to external noise. The hustle and bustle of daily life, the demands of work, the distractions of living in a busy, fast-paced world, these things can create a kind of mental static that makes it hard to concentrate, relax, or find a sense of peace. Whether it's the noise of traffic, the buzz of office chatter, or the clutter of a disorganized living space, external distractions can create an environment where it feels impossible to clear your mind or slow down. One of the most powerful things we can do to regain clarity and peace of mind is to limit the amount of external noise we allow into our lives. This doesn't mean we have to disconnect entirely or shut ourselves off from the world, but it does mean setting intentional boundaries around what we allow to enter our mental and emotional space. We can start by being mindful of the information we consume, choosing to filter out what doesn't serve us or contribute to our well-being. For example, we can limit our time on social media or curate our news sources to avoid being overwhelmed by sensationalized stories or negative headlines. We can also make a conscious effort to disconnect from the constant stream of digital notifications. Turning off unnecessary alerts, setting specific times to check emails or messages, and creating tech-free zones or times during the day can help reduce the external noise and give us more mental space to focus on what truly matters. This practice of digital detox doesn't just help us reclaim our time, but it also gives us the opportunity to reconnect with ourselves and with others in more meaningful ways. In addition to managing information and digital distractions, it's important to set boundaries with people and situations that drain our energy. This could mean saying no to requests that don't align with our priorities or stepping away from toxic relationships that weigh us down. By protecting our mental and emotional space, we can create room for the things that nurture our well-being, things like rest, creativity, and personal growth. Setting these boundaries isn't about being selfish, it's about recognizing that in order to show up as the best version of ourselves, we need to prioritize our own needs and protect our peace. The noise we experience from the expectations of others can also be mitigated by being clear on our own values and priorities. When we know who we are and what we stand for, we can make decisions from a place of confidence rather than from a place of external influence. We can learn to tune out the noise of unsolicited advice and societal pressures and instead listen to our own inner voice. This clarity allows us to focus on what's truly important to us without getting distracted by the opinions or judgments of others. By limiting external noise, we create space for deeper self-awareness and mindfulness. We make room to hear our own thoughts, to process our emotions, and to make decisions that align with our true desires. We also open ourselves up to experiencing the world more fully and with greater appreciation. Instead of rushing from one task to the next or worrying about what's happening around us, we become more present, able to engage in our lives with intention, calm, and clarity. The process of limiting external noise is an ongoing practice. It requires self-awareness and discipline. The benefits are profound. When we reduce the distractions and external pressures, we begin to feel more grounded, centered, and at peace. We gain the mental space to think clearly, make mindful decisions, and cultivate a deeper connection to ourselves and the world around us. By doing so, we reclaim our power and our sense of inner calm in an otherwise noisy world. Practicing self-compassion is one of the most transformative gifts we can give ourselves. Yet it's something that many of us struggle with. In a world that often emphasizes achievement, perfection, and external validation, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism, self-doubt, and harsh judgment. We hold ourselves to impossibly high standards, and when we inevitably make mistakes or fall short, we respond with disappointment, frustration, or even shame. We tend to be our harshest critics, focusing on our flaws or perceived shortcomings, rather than acknowledging our humanity and treating ourselves with kindness. At its core, self-compassion is the practice of treating ourselves with the same understanding, care, and patience that we would offer to a friend. It's about accepting ourselves fully, imperfections, flaws, and all, without the need for constant self-judgment. Instead of beating ourselves up when we make mistakes, we can choose to respond with empathy, understanding, and forgiveness. Just as we would comfort a friend who is struggling or feeling down, we can learn to offer that same level of care and support to ourselves. One of the key aspects of self-compassion is recognizing that we are not alone in our struggles. It's easy to feel isolated in moments of difficulty, as if we're the only ones experiencing hardship, failure, or pain. But the truth is, suffering is a universal part of the human experience. We all face challenges, make mistakes, and feel vulnerable at times. By acknowledging that we are part of this shared experience, we can soften the tendency to isolate ourselves in our pain. We can remind ourselves that being imperfect and having setbacks doesn't make us unworthy or flawed, it makes us human. Self-compassion also involves letting go of the need for perfection. Perfectionism is often driven by the belief that if we can just be flawless, then we'll be worthy of love, success, or acceptance. But this constant striving for an unattainable ideal only fuels anxiety, stress, and self-doubt. When we practice self-compassion, we embrace our imperfections, understanding that they are not only a natural part of life, but also an essential part of our growth and evolution. And mistakes and setbacks are opportunities to learn, to grow, and to become more resilient, not evidence of failure or inadequacy. Self-compassion helps us shift from a mindset of "I'm not good enough" to "I am worthy of love and care, just as I am." Another important aspect of self-compassion is being mindful of how we speak to ourselves. Our internal dialogue has a profound impact on how we feel and how we navigate the world. When we constantly criticize ourselves or focus on our perceived flaws, we create a negative feedback loop that diminishes our confidence and well-being. In contrast, when we practice gentle and supportive self-talk, we nurture our sense of worth and build resilience. It's not about ignoring our mistakes or pretending everything is perfect. It's about being realistic and kind with ourselves, offering words of encouragement rather than self-recrimination. In addition to being kind in our thoughts and words, self-compassion also involves taking actions that nurture our well-being. This might mean setting aside time for rest when we're feeling overwhelmed, engaging in activities that bring us joy and peace, or seeking support from others when we need it. It's about recognizing when we need to slow down, take a break, or give ourselves the care we would freely offer to a loved one. By practicing self-compassion in our actions, we learn to honor our own needs and prioritize our mental and emotional health. Self-compassion also teaches us the power of forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. We all make mistakes, it's a part of being human. But instead of holding on to guilt, regret, or shame, self-compassion encourages us to forgive ourselves for past missteps. Forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring the lessons we can learn from our mistakes. It means accepting that we're not defined by our past actions. When we hold on to regret or guilt, we create unnecessary suffering. But when we choose to forgive ourselves, we free ourselves from the weight of those emotions, allowing us to move forward with greater peace and clarity. Practicing self-compassion also involves being patient with ourselves. In a society that values speed, efficiency, and constant progress, we often rush through life, expecting ourselves to move quickly from one task to the next, from one challenge to the next, without taking time to reflect, recover, or simply be. Self-compassion teaches us that it's okay to take things slowly, to acknowledge where we are in our journey, and to give ourselves the time and space we need to heal and grow. It's a reminder that we don't need to be in a constant state of achievement or perfection to be worthy. We are enough, exactly as we are, in this very moment. Finally, shifting your perspective often involves embracing the idea of the bigger picture. It's easy to get caught in the small details or to focus on the immediate stresses of daily life. But when we take a step back and look at the larger narrative of our lives, we can gain a sense of perspective, and perspective shifts. For example, a setback or failure may feel monumental in the moment, but in the grand scheme of life, it may be just a small chapter in a much larger story. Recognizing the bigger picture allows us to stay grounded, focused, and hopeful even in the face of challenges. The beauty of shifting your perspective is that it's entirely within your control. Every thought, every belief, every interpretation of an experience is shaped by the lens through which we view it. By consciously choosing to shift that lens, we can open ourselves to new opportunities, increase our resilience, and experience life in a more positive, empowering way. This shift doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending that everything is perfect. It means approaching life with a sense of curiosity, openness, and a belief that no matter what happens, we have the power to grow and learn from every experience. When we shift our perspective, we change not only the way we see the world, but also the way the world sees us. In a world that is constantly moving at a fast pace, filled with distractions, noise, and an endless stream of information, there is something incredibly powerful about embracing simplicity. It can feel almost counterintuitive in a society that values complexity, achievement, and accumulation. We are often taught that more is better, that success is tied to how much we can do or have, and that the busier we are, the more valuable our time is. But in reality, simplicity holds the key to deeper peace, clarity, and a more fulfilling life. Embracing simplicity means stripping away the unnecessary, whether it's clutter in our environment, mental noise, or the constant pressure to do more. It's about focusing on what truly matters and letting go of everything else that doesn't serve us. This process of simplification isn't just about reducing things, it's about creating space to breathe, to reflect, and to reconnect with what is essential. When we clear the clutter in our lives, both physical and emotional, we make room for clarity and focus. We can see what's important and we begin to prioritize it with intention. At its core, embracing simplicity is about cultivating inner peace. When we remove the constant distractions and demands that vie for our attention, we create space for stillness and mindfulness. In this quiet space, we can connect with our inner selves, reflect on our true desires, and tap into a deeper sense of contentment. Without the pressure to constantly perform, achieve, or accumulate more, we can let go of the anxiety that often comes with living in a complex, fast-paced world. Instead, we find peace in the simplicity of being just as we are in this moment. Simplicity also encourages us to live more intentionally. When we stop trying to do everything and please everyone, we can focus on the things that truly align with our values and passions. It's about making conscious choices that reflect our priorities rather than getting swept up in what society, others, or even our own expectations tell us we should be doing. By embracing simplicity, we create a life that is more aligned with our true selves, a life that feels authentic, grounded, and purposeful. This intentional living is not about having less, it's about having more of what matters. In addition, embracing simplicity can lead to greater freedom. The more we simplify our lives, the less we are tied down by material possessions, external expectations, or the need for constant validation. When we are not chasing after things we don't truly need or striving to live up to a false image of success, we free ourselves from the cycle of constant striving. We become less attached to outcomes and more open to the flow of life. We realize that true freedom comes not from accumulating more, but from letting go of what weighs us down, whether that's physical clutter, unnecessary commitments, or limiting beliefs. By releasing these burdens, we experience a greater sense of liberation and lightness. Simplicity also allows us to reconnect with the natural world. Our modern lives often disconnect us from nature as we become immersed in the artificial constructs of work, technology, and social obligations. But when we embrace simplicity, we open ourselves up to the beauty and peace that nature offers. We begin to appreciate the small things, the rhythm of the seasons, the sound of birdsong, the feel of the wind on our skin. Nature, in its simplest form, teaches us that everything has its own pace, its own flow, and that we are an integral part of it. In a world that values complexity and speed, the natural world offers us as a reminder of the wisdom and calm that simplicity can bring. Another powerful aspect of simplicity is the clarity it provides. When we remove the noise and distractions from our lives, we can begin to see things more clearly. Our goals become more focused, our decisions more deliberate, and our relationships more meaningful. We stop getting lost in the clutter of daily life and instead become more attuned to what truly brings us joy, fulfillment, and peace. Simplicity clears the fog, enabling us to see the beauty of the present moment and the possibilities that lie ahead. Simplicity is also deeply connected to self-acceptance. Often the complexity in our lives arises from the pressure to meet external standards of success, beauty, or happiness. We strive to be more, to have more, and to prove our worth to others. But in doing so, we can lose sight of who we truly are and what we truly need. Embracing simplicity invites us to accept ourselves as we are, without the need for constant striving or comparison. It reminds us that we are enough just as we are, and that true happiness doesn't come from external accomplishments or possessions, but from within. Simplicity allows us to reconnect with our essence, to cultivate self-love, and to embrace the beauty of living authentically. There is also a deep sense of joy that comes from living simply. We often think that more things, more experiences, or more achievements will bring us happiness, but in reality, it's the simplest things that often bring us the most joy. A moment of quiet, a shared laugh with a friend, a walk in nature, these are the moments that fill our hearts with contentment. By embracing simplicity, we allow ourselves to experience joy in its purest form, untainted by the pressures of external expectations. We become more present to the beauty that already surrounds us, and we begin to appreciate life for what it is rather than for what we think it should be. In relationships, simplicity fosters deeper connection. When we embrace simplicity in our interactions with others, we can focus on what truly matters: love, trust, and understanding. We stop complicating relationships with drama, expectations, or superficial concerns, and instead nurture them with presence, kindness, and openness. In a world where relationships can often become entangled in complexity, whether through misunderstandings, miscommunications, or the pressures of external demands, simplicity allows us to return to the heart of connection. By prioritizing what is essential in our relationships, we create deeper bonds and a sense of true intimacy. Ultimately, embracing simplicity is about finding balance. It's about recognizing that we don't need to accumulate more, do more, or be more in order to be happy or fulfilled. In fact, the more we simplify our lives, the more we can experience peace, clarity, and joy. Simplicity isn't about deprivation, it's about intention. It's about choosing what matters most, letting go of what doesn't, and living with purpose and presence. When we embrace simplicity, we find that the world becomes a more beautiful, peaceful, and meaningful place because we've created the space to appreciate its true essence. Committing to inner peace is one of the most profound and liberating decisions we can make in our lives. It's not something that just happens by chance or through external circumstances. It's an ongoing, deliberate choice to prioritize mental and emotional well-being over the chaos and distractions of the world around us. Inner peace isn't about escaping challenges, avoiding discomfort, or living in a constant state of serenity. Rather, it's about developing a deep sense of calm and resilience that can withstand whatever life throws our way. The first step in committing to inner peace is recognizing that it is within us all, just waiting to be uncovered. We often look for peace outside of ourselves through accomplishments, relationships, or material possessions, believing that achieving these things will bring us lasting fulfillment. But true peace comes from within. It's not something that can be obtained or acquired. It's a state of being that we can cultivate by tuning into our inner world and aligning ourselves with our deepest values and desires. By connecting to that stillness inside, we begin to understand that peace is not something we need to search for. It's something we can create by simply turning inward and choosing to be at peace with ourselves. A critical part of committing to inner peace is learning how to manage our thoughts and emotions. Our minds often swirl with a constant stream of thoughts, worries, and anxieties that can make us feel overwhelmed, disconnected, or restless. These thoughts can easily pull us away from the present moment and create unnecessary stress. But when we commit to inner peace, we begin to understand that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts. We can choose not to identify with every passing worry or negative belief. Through practices like mindfulness, meditation, or deep breathing, we train ourselves to be more present and aware of our mental landscape, allowing us to detach from the noise and return to a place of stillness. Inner peace also requires us to make peace with our emotions. It's easy to suppress or avoid uncomfortable feelings like anger, sadness, or fear, but when we do so, we only prolong our suffering. True inner peace doesn't mean being free from negative emotions. It means learning how to embrace and process them in a healthy way. When we allow ourselves to feel without judgment or resistance, we release the hold that these emotions have over us. Instead of being ruled by our emotional reactions, we develop the ability to sit with our feelings, understand them, and let them pass without letting them define us or control our actions. In this way, we create space for peace to thrive. In committing to inner peace, we also learn to let go of the need for control. So much of our stress comes from trying to control the uncontrollable, whether it's the actions of others, the outcome of a situation, or the uncertainties of life. But the truth is, there is very little in life that we can control. The more we cling to control, the more we create resistance and anxiety within ourselves. When we commit to inner peace, we learn to let go of this need for control and trust that life will unfold as it is meant to. This doesn't mean being passive or indifferent. It means surrendering to the flow of life and trusting that we are always supported, even when things don't go according to plan. Letting go of control creates space for peace to enter, because we stop fighting against the natural rhythm of life. Another important aspect of inner peace is forgiveness. Often we hold on to grudges, resentments, or regrets, believing that holding on to these emotions will somehow protect us or make us feel justified. But in reality, unforgiveness only keeps us tethered to the past, preventing us from moving forward in peace. By committing to inner peace, we choose to release the weight of past hurts and open our hearts to forgiveness, not only for others, but also for ourselves. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the actions that hurt us, but it means freeing ourselves from the emotional burden of carrying anger, shame, or guilt. It's about choosing peace over resentment and making space for healing to take place. In addition, committing to inner peace means embracing acceptance. So often we fight against the circumstances we're in, wishing things were different or longing for things to change. But inner peace is cultivated when we learn to accept life as it is, even with its imperfections. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning ourselves to a life of passivity. It means choosing to stop resisting what we cannot change and focusing our energy on how we can respond in a way that aligns with our inner values. When we embrace acceptance, we stop wasting energy on things that are outside of our control, and we redirect that energy toward what truly matters: our growth, our well-being, and our connection to the present moment. Committing to inner peace is a lifelong journey, one that requires conscious effort, self-awareness, and a willingness to embrace both the challenges and the joys that life brings. But the rewards are immeasurable. When we choose inner peace, we create a foundation of resilience, clarity, and joy that can support us through life's ups and downs. It becomes a source of strength that helps us navigate even the most difficult times with grace, knowing that no matter what happens, our inner peace is always available to us, ready to be tapped into at any moment. As we close, let's take a moment to reflect on the powerful journey we've explored today, the journey toward a more peaceful, purposeful, and fulfilling life. We've talked about the importance of clearing out mental clutter, of shifting our perspectives, of embracing simplicity, and of committing to inner peace. Each of these principles is a step toward creating the space for our true selves to emerge free from the distractions, judgments, and limitations that often hold us back. The mind, though powerful, is not meant to be a battleground. When we choose to clear away unnecessary thoughts and beliefs, we open the door to clarity, creativity, and joy. By embracing simplicity and choosing what truly matters, we allow ourselves to focus on the present, to experience life more deeply, and to prioritize what nourishes us rather than what drains us. Through mindfulness, self-compassion, and a commitment to inner peace, we reclaim our ability to choose our response to the world around us and cultivate a deep, unshakable sense of calm amidst the storm. Thank you for being open to these ideas and for taking the time to reflect on how you can embrace this journey in your own life. Remember, inner peace isn't a distant goal, it's something we can choose in every moment, no matter where we are or what we face. As you move forward, may you carry with you the understanding that peace is always available and that you have the power to cultivate it from within. Take a deep breath. You are enough, exactly as you are, and peace begins with you. Thank you.